In March 2020, the world changed. COVID made us mask up, wash up, and keep 6 feet away from each other. It's become a new lifestyle. These history-altering circumstances have caused me to reflect on the concept of masking. Masks are worn for many reasons. In the 16th century, theatrical masks personified the emotions of fictional characters. In some cultures, masks express religious beliefs during ritual dances. Today, masks are used for our health to protect us from spreading a deadly virus. Masks can also be worn to hide, deceive, or to conceal. Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung believed that all of us have a persona, the social face that we present to the world. It's a metaphorical mask. Jung asserts that one mask is our public persona, a mask designed to make a definite impression upon others. On the other hand, that same mask conceals the true nature of an individual. Concealing a version of ourselves sparked my interest. Almost all of us were wearing masks long before the pandemic started. I work at Hobby Lobby, which means discounted art supplies. We sell masks. One day, I bought a mask made out of plastic and decided to paint that mask to represent my personal experience with Jung's notion of personas, masks revealing and concealing a version of myself to and from others. The outside of the mask was perfectly sunny, painted with gold spray paint. The inside of the mask consisted of dark colors, representing my insecurities and fears. I thought I was done, however, I placed my mask on top of an old painting that I had laying around. I got out my camera, played with lighting, and digitally adjusted the image. This image became the basis for new works on canvas and collage. I began painting abstracted images of masks next. Paintings are made of layers. While playing with the first layer on my first painting, I placed blue painter's tape on the canvas, another kind of masking. As the layers built up, I decided that I wanted to extend the painter's tape off of the canvas so that I wouldn't feel so confined. Initially, I thought that I would remove the tape, but prior to the pandemic, I visited the Museum of Modern Art. I got to see German artist Jutta Kother's work in person, where she weaves materials on canvas like buttons, tools, and paper clips. Kother's freedom with the materials was a revelation. Consequently, I left the blue painter's tape hanging from the canvas. It had multiple identities. Obviously, it was a roll of tape that everyone is familiar with. But in the context of abstracted masks, it could also function as pure form breaking the boundary. It's also a transparent mask revealing the wall behind it. I loved the way that the tape interacted with the painting. I allowed the viewer to connect in both tactile ways because we all have experience with tape rolls, but also metaphorically. My exploration of masks and alternate materials to which the viewer can connect continues. Using everyday materials like string, paper, watercolor, oil pastels, magazines, thumbtacks, and buttons, I created works that consist of layers of abstract masks. By taking some paper and oil pastels, I created colorful abstract masks that were intertwined with string. I also incorporated buttons and used thumbtacks to pin them on the wall. Like the painting with the roll hanging off of it, these string installations reveal the wall behind it. Because they are layered, some of the masks are also hidden. I intentionally place a dark and dull mask beneath every bright and playful mask. Two artists that have influenced my abstract work are Taylor A. White and Tracy Adams. White uses graphite, spray paint, marker, fabric, paper, and sometimes cardboard on canvas. He uses all of these materials to recount crisis and triumph, momentum, and confinement. I love that White uses his art to create bright and fun works, but at the same time also works that are messy and chaotic. Tracy Adams has also had an influence on me too. In her artist statement, she says, "Each work in each series is a visual diary of my explorations. My ideas evolve as I apply my sense of order and play to the images and materials at hand. I may start with an idea in mind, but somewhere between intention and chance, I find new directions. I'm never quite sure how a painting will look until it's finished. My most recent works reflect this process too. I too start with an idea in mind, but somewhere in my process of creating, I start to get my hands dirty and just play. As an art therapist in training, the process of just playing around and not worrying about the end result has become crucial to me. According to the American Art Therapy Association, art therapy is a profession that integrates the fields of art and psychotherapy into a specific approach and philosophy toward psychological issues and concerns. It is an integrated treatment approach that is clinically rooted and applicable for all populations. Art therapy uses creative expression to foster healing and mental well-being. That is why creating these masks has been important to me. It has allowed me to experience the process of documenting my thoughts and feelings. Art therapy is also about vulnerability. In my latest work, I have been the most vulnerable with myself and others. In my next piece, I continue to use everyday materials. I used canvas, string, buttons, and my abstract and masks made out of paper and oil pastels. This time, I added a mirror and placed it behind the abstract and mask. Placing a mirror behind the mask forced me to view myself wearing one. At first glance, this piece feels fun and bright, but when looking at it longer, the viewer is forced to interact with the black paint peeking through on the wall. The canvas is not completely painted as I intentionally wanted the canvas to be shown, and it is also torn. Personally, this piece is one of the most symbolic pieces that I've created. The interaction between the mirror behind a mask, the canvas being torn, and the black paint peeking through on the side really emphasizes this idea of my persona hiding behind a mask that I've put on. My last work was inspired by Uta Kother. In one of her works, she hung her canvas on a piece of glass where the viewer was exposed to both the front and the back of the canvas. I was inspired by this and decided that I too wanted to expose my viewer to a piece where they can interact with it. I placed my string masks in between two sheets of plexiglass. Included in this piece are also buttons and string. This piece is hung from the ceiling and both sides are exposed so that anyone can walk around it. Similar to my last work using a mirror, again I wanted to physically see myself wearing my abstracted masks. Standing in front or behind this piece allows me to do just that. Using the plexiglass felt like the next best move. Glass, of course, is fragile and transparent. This piece represents the fragility and transparency one faces when revealing one's mask to others. As the viewer takes in this body of work, it is my hope that they may also reflect on this idea of masks and what it means to conceal a certain version of themselves. So, what masks are you wearing?